So, I'm not going to take up any more. Peace.
Okay.
Asante Sana to, is it Abubakar?
Abu Bakr.
Abubakar. Oh, my brother. Give thanks for your comment. Give thanks for your diligence. And I would like to add to that is, it's something when the mothers of our community have made a call to war. And that war is spiritually, it's psychologically. The element of the physicality has always been present. Yet they're making the right type of call to war for us to get back to our true selves so we can do our due diligence without fear. Ashe.
Ashe.
Amen.
Okay, Abubakar, we're going to go to the next person. I'm going to open up the line for, who's that? Oh, Shimabubi. I'm really not good with this. I'm opening your mic up. eBay.
What?
Shimaobi. Can you tell me who you are?
Me. Yeah, my name is Chimobi, and yeah, from Newark, New Jersey, and I just want to say I like this whole entire organization and this Black Summit. I've learned a lot. So.
Okay.
Well, my brother, I would like to say to you, brother, welcome. I definitely know up in Newark, amongst many other areas, you got Newark, Camden, Philadelphia, all of the Tri-Cities, both known and unknown, all the areas. And for you, amongst other brothers and sisters, to be constantly withstanding the storm up there on all levels. Actually, my hand is on my heart to you and salute to you. So I appreciate you for actually finding this to be well worth your time for solutions, because it's definitely needed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, the next mic I'm going to open up will be for Shinyere Okunji. Are you there?
Yes. Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
My question is, how can we start building our own black militia to create more security in our neighborhoods? Because obviously calling the police and even dealing with our own internal affairs cannot be handled within white supremacy.
Absolutely. Well, my dear sister, that's a question. Were you finished asking?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I would like to give thanks for you, sister. May I ask what area are you in? Where you calling from?
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear that.
May I ask what area are you calling from?
I'm in Rochester, New York.
Rochester, New York. Okay, give thanks, sister. Okay, well, Mama Bantu, I'm going to actually use the sister's question and dive into a perspective overall. So give thanks, my sister.
Okay, we're going to let the other ask their question, or are you going to ask the question now?
Well, I'm actually going to answer a question and then dive into a perspective. So we'll get back to the questions in a few minutes.
All right, go right ahead.
Okay, give thanks. Sante Sana, Mama Dr. Nabantu. Our dear sister asked, how can we start building our own black militia? She added some sentiments to that when we get to talking about the police, okay? We have to really, really look at this. I am going to share my perspective. For those who are listening, for those, and that goes for any and all people. We are protected by the ancestors, so have no fear. You cannot trust the police, period. Now, the thing is I would encourage everyone to deal with facts. Take out belief. Let's take out faith. And when I say that, I'm not talking necessarily from your religious or spiritual perspectives. I'm saying from a hypothetical or theoretic perspective, right? Because everybody's still looking for a greater day. Everybody's still looking for something better. We have to analyze this. We are people who have been tormented and traumatized to the point that we have an affinity for oppressors. That's a fact. That's a fact. And so how can we, walking on our 2 feet, stop being a corpse waiting for our final burial, as I utilize the wonderful, important works of Aikwe Armah in 2000 Seasons. And that's just in the prologue, the introduction. How can we start building our own black militia? Now, I'm not going to dive too much into the semantics of things. I would encourage everyone, first of all, to be clear, not only on who you are, which is so important as I dive further into this, it's also you have to be clear on systemically what is the origins of these agencies. Also, what is the origins of the terms that we use in a reactionary way, such as militia, right? Because there's still a connotation that comes along with that, right? It all dives into us being clear on the factual grounds of being highly educated without fear. And then once we receive that education on what we're dealing with, who we're dealing with, plus why we're dealing with them, and then you'll dive into more of the agendas, you'll dive more into this and that, and the others. How can you have a black militia? When I listen to my dear sister ask that question, I'm also hearing as a sister, a woman, a mother of our community, she's pissed. I'm going to tell you just straight up, she's pissed. Because you know what she sees? Our brothers, sisters, children, our elders, it's constantly on the news, on the internet, getting mowed down, shot dead, killed dead, lynched, raped, beaten, whatever you want to call it. Then the reverse psychology is through the psychosis of the insanity. The insanity. Because how can a person for generations not go through all of that and not have some aspect of insanity, then look at how we treat ourselves, let alone our own, right? So how can we have a standing force to say this is not allowable, this is not permissible, we will not stand for this? I wouldn't give a doggone who you are. Now I'm going to go into some real talk now. We can elocute, a very polished, academia-like. We need to have some real talk. So we're going to keep this collard greens and cornbread without the fat bag. So the point of it is when we say anything with a gathering of our people who have a strong stance, I would be very clear, and I'm not telling you not to do. I want you to research the origins of militias itself. And then you have to look at not only the origins of why it was erected, which will take you to now today's military, especially the Army up under George Washington, okay, the Urugu, the European. You will also come to find out that militias were originated to capture people who escaped as being enslaved. That's the origins of it. So the power within the semantics, also the connotations, we have to be clear. Because I also know that people like Alex Jones and you have the standoff that just happened over in Oregon. When you have these people who are fighting, remember, that is Europeans fighting Europeans. We are not pretty much up under the, and that's why I mentioned the Dred Scott decision, we are not pretty much viewed as even being human, let alone under this system, under this regime. We have to be careful with our terminologies. The thing is when we align ourselves, and I have met some brothers and sisters who feel like, you know what, black people aren't doing anything, black people aren't erecting anything, so you know what, I'm over here with these Europeans, I'm over here with these other people. Well, what's going to happen as they not only constantly are putting their guns on you, when they turn on you after their little battles, look at you like a brother until the battle's over with, then they eat you alive. Because the mentality of the individual still isn't there. Look, I can have anything in common with people under duress or pressure, or just because I like a football team, they want to be my friend only for the moment of the football game. So we have to absolutely be clear on a few different levels. Before we dive into a lot of, I would say, organizational stance, you first of all, I feel that there's work that needs to be done. Now, I'm not talking out the side of my mouth, and let me give you a little peek of who I am. I was bestowed the name Baba Cordell by my community. I feel that any type of titlement, which means father or masculine figure of our community, that is nothing to be taken lightly. I have, as I grew up in the Chicago/Mississippi, as my people have migrated from the south to the north, I've also went into, I would say, an astuteness and analyzation, not only of my neighborhoods, not only of my people, yet the state of mind. Coming to the point that questioning things, it doesn't matter if it was religion, it doesn't matter if it was people ways. And you know, with certain people of a certain generation, if you question certain teachings or certain traditions, you know, you can get a good old-fashioned butt whooping. You know, you don't question religion, God, preachers. You don't question why is so-and-so doing this, or the people that are older than you. So that itself goes to show that there's a cutoff of communication within our culture, because we should want to ask questions for clarity, which brings communications. I have worked in the fields that people call law enforcement. I've worked in super maximum prisons from coast to coast. I've also been a part of various teams that deal with a lot of special forces, riot, SWAT, CERT. Those are terminologies. If you choose to, you can look up. Yet my heart and soul, prior to all of that, I didn't dream of that. I joined that out of circumstances of the economic times. And then once I was a part of it, I really got broke in on what I was really a part of, which was being an overseer of a lot of our brothers and sisters. And then on top of that, the non-humanity aspect of it. If you have a heart, soul, if you deal with any people-oriented business, and key word is business, because it is a business. It doesn't matter from being a security guard at a Burger King all the way to being a mental health worker, a therapist, or whatever. Anytime you're dealing with people, especially our people, you are caught into a web, a quagmire of this. Either you're going to do things by way of the doctrine of that agency and or order, including its academia regurgitations, right? Or you're going to deal with your heart and soul, which is hard to do in an environment that originated, keyword going back to its origins, built off of galvanization, oppression, and the production, product, because that's why we call them industries, product made off of our people. So there are elements of institutionalization, of enslavement, captivity, other such things. So to give you a great example, what do you do to the brother or sister or the young people who are fed options of how to live, given foods that are totally dismantling their ability to think, speak, or go into themselves, totally ruining their instinctive chemical flow, which affects their sexual functionality, their gender, and their gene pool. And then on top of that, you have homelessness, you have so many other things down the line. And then you have to look at people's stress factors of the ability to not only feed their families, let alone themselves. So you have a lot of delusion, especially out of our younger generations, who are fed more and more popular culture that is fed to them to say, you are this, let's be this. Therefore, the young brother or sister, or even the older brother and sister, would rather have a fake Gucci bag than the real thing, in which you don't need the real thing anyway because of the energy and connotations. So when we're talking about safety, security, galvanization, coming together, how to protect ourselves, how to raise our families, morals, values, how do you have a strong stance? Well, you tell me this. What is the work that we need to do prior to getting to all of those things that take what? Discipline, order, and protocol, period. We are in an interesting position. If you are breathing and alive still today, you do have to analyze this. I agree with Dr. Nana Siti Opio. We are so linear in the wrong way. And we're secular people. Because you know what? We look, for example, people call me, right? And they'll say, no matter where you are, what state, city, I'm sick and tired of this. Somebody told me to call you to learn how to protect myself. Okay. I know a lot of this is out of duress. I know a lot of these, it's reactionary, right? So I could ask, well, specifically, what is it that you want? I was told I need to learn how to shoot. That's what my children are telling me, my work colleagues are telling me. And then I take 3 seconds of that question. I go inside of myself. And then to evaluate psychologically what my brother or sister is, I ask them one simple question. What have you done to learn how to not get shot? Now, what that does is usually it garners a reaction of, I don't know. I never thought about it like that. You know what? Through so many aspects, and we can look at Flint, Michigan right now with the lead in the water, the genocidal aspects of it, stuff that was known years ago that's now made international headlines. And then you have also, as my dear sister alluded to, a front of protection. Who's the main speaker? Who's the main spokesperson? You have that European Michael Moore. Now everybody's going to look at him. All the brothers and sisters up there are going to look at him as their savior. So what I'm saying is we're dealing with something that's prior to just a physical front. And don't get me wrong, you do need to do many things at one time. Let's be clear. You're talking to a brother here who has, I'm still called at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to deal with things that most people wouldn't even be able to stomach. I will say this, we have to do the work within ourselves, and we have to really get in tune with spirit, what it really means to be an embodiment of spirit and walk to that. Because you know what, this is overwhelming. What are you going to do? You get your black militia, and I say this with humility, my sister, you're listening, and I just want you and others to think, what are you going to do for saying, you know what, we want to keep this out from being attacked, yet what are we doing to internally keep certain elements out, individually and collectively? We have murderers, rapists, we have pedophiles, we have so many elements within. I'm not even just talking about community-wise, I mean just within your own families and households. So, am I giving that a pass? Am I negating the external of what to keep out? Absolutely not. What I'm saying is we have to think. We have to be clear. We have to come to a consensus. How can I stand shoulder to shoulder and foot with you if your oppression, your identity crisis, your hurts, your pains, your depression, if all that kicks in? So for 90 minutes, we're good. You know, our energy is there, our adrenaline is there, we have a united front. Then the last 10 minutes, our oppression kicks in, and then all of a sudden we have a skirmish, we have an argument, we have a difference of opinion, your energies, your this, your that. See, there's always a calming down. And that's the thing, is we've become so reactionary that we really have not mastered movement in a reactionary way and thinking at the same time internally. It's always an external type of reaction. So what can we do to protect ourselves and have a united front? You got to be willing to put in the internal work. You have to be willing to put in the internal work, because I need to know who am I standing with. I need to know who can I trust with my children. I need to know who can I trust with my wife, who can I trust with my brothers, my sisters, my mothers, my grandmothers. How do I know what you stand for? Because there may still be an iota. Now, this is internal work I'm talking about here. There still may be an iota of you that still has an affinity for a European that you think you have things in common with. See, we have to be clear. Because you know what? Once you are clear, you can make a definitive decision. And then from that point, you keep moving because you're clear. There is no turning back. There is no I quit. So another question I like to pose is, what do you do for treasonous acts? Well, what is treason? Well, what is your standard of life and living? What is your moral and your value ground? So therefore, how can I hold somebody accountable for treason if we don't even have at least that commonality? What do you stand for? What are your laws? What are your rules? What are your standards? Am I willing to protect that? Am I willing to give my life for that to the point that it takes away from those who are dependent on me, right, in seeing me again? There's a lot of questions that go into uniformity. There's a lot of questions. See, we have a lot of people who are they're excellent cerebral tacticians. Yet, until I have an intimacy so that I can do what? Feel, not just from a indoctrinated logical standpoint or emotional standpoint that's discombobulated. I need to feel you are authentic. I need to know who you are, because we also cannot rule out that there's been a lot of there's been a lot of false leadership. And when I say false, I will let me restate that. There's been a lot of leadership that just wasn't for me. Yet, for whatever divine purpose they were meant for, it is what it is. So you better be clear on what you're submitting to, why you're submitting to it, and who you're getting down with it with. You are the militia. You are that blackness. You are African. To be African is to be clear. So we have to do the work to be clear, so therefore you know individually what to institute. My question would be, before I can line myself up with 12 to 15,000 people, I say that sincerely, what is the individual work that you're doing yourself right here and now? If I'm at a grocery store, gas station, or simply going for a walk and I get attacked, is it in you to at least have some sort of stance? Now, I didn't say go all in it, because you got to be clear. A lot of people are into foolishness and you don't know what it's about. Yet, where does your energy, your heart lie? What are the works that you're doing individually right now to be clear, and at least you have a militant stance in the sense of your discipline says, this is what I stand for. That itself is where it starts. It just doesn't start with a body of people organizing themselves. So I want to share that. I am a person who really takes our lives seriously. Look, on the economic front, educational front, through the strategic aspects of how we institute morals, values within a society and environments that promote subcultural morals and values that are actually plagiarized and destructive, you know what? We have to really be clear on where we're at and what we're dealing with. Because you know what? I am not living in a concentrated communal environment, yet do I live communal. Even if my true next door neighbor is 5-10 miles away, do I have a bond with them? If something happens, who can I call? So the acts of being communal, the acts of standing in an African force is still there. It doesn't matter that we're a little spread it out within these inner cities, within these townships or whatever. Still, if it's in you to do, that is how you're going to act, period.
Brother Cordell,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I want to let you know that in order to get any more questions in, our time is getting shorter. So I do think we have, I know we have a comment from Earlene Wilson. Oh, let me check, make sure I say that correctly. Sorry. Earlene Wilson Huey said she didn't have a question, but she just wanted to make a comment, and that she was she's from Albany, Oregon, and that she's enjoying and very grateful for this summit. She didn't have any questions. And okay, so I don't see any more questions typed. Let me check the attendees, because we were going down. Oh, I do see a question from Clay Smith. Let me open up the mic for Clay. Clay, are you there? Clay Smith, your hand is raised. You have a question?
How you doing?
Go ahead.
How you doing? How's everyone today?
We're doing good. Yourself?
I'm from Bermuda, and a minute ago you mentioned 3 words in order.
I cannot hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Can you, are you on a,
If you
are
can
you on a
turn,
speakerphone?
could you?
Sir, are you on a speakerphone?
Oh, yes, I am.
If you take the speaker off,
Better. That's
I'll be able
better.
to hear you better.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I can hear you perfectly, my brother Clay.
Okay, thank you very much. Just a minute ago, you spoke about 3 cool words, water, and I missed the last one. Could you tell me what it was?
I'm sorry, I just lost him again. Could you repeat that for me, Dr. Nabantu?
He said there was 3 parts or something you just said. He missed the last part.
Discipline, order, and it was one other word that he used.
Protocol.
Protocol. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And give my greetings to the African family in Bermuda.
I definitely will. I definitely will. And thank you for this summit. We appreciate you. We love you. Keep it up.
Well, thank you for coming.
I say.
Okay. Let me open up the mic. Let's see. Bakir Tahimba, you have where are you calling from? Are you there, Tahimba? Bakir Tahimba? Okay.
Hello?
Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you fine. Can you tell us
Sorry.
where you calling from?
I'm calling from New Orleans, Louisiana.
All right.
So I didn't really have a question, and I must have accidentally pressed a button that caused my hand to go up. But I do want to say that I appreciated much of what the brother, explained in the concept of that whole militia concept. Here in New Orleans, we are in a process of developing a concentrated community of ourselves. And that's not an easy feat or an easy task. We have so many things that we do that are led by our desires for being American. So the way he answered about us developing camaraderie, even in our distant, places, inside of the same city, but being able to call upon one another as comrades, as brothers, as sisters. That's a very, very important point, and the whole idea of protecting and providing for our community or our families is as simple as us just doing it outside of establishing by name militias or anything. We just have to, like, when we know that we love ourselves and we love one another, we're going to do everything that we have to do to protect ourselves and provide for ourselves. So I think the brother answered the question very, very good. And I, love to continue building on that idea of how, we need to work together just in our few, in our small numbers, the power in our small numbers. But thank you.
Well, my brother, give thanks for you over there in New Orleans, because between New Orleans, I'm going to go within the past 20 years. If we review New Orleans, the situation with Katrina, Detroit, you know what? Our people are really missing the boat on a lot of things. And so I appreciate you actually for pretty much saying, you know what? If you get back with spirit and your spirit connects with another, you got things in common, you will put some formality to it, and it's going to be done organically because you're going to know who your folks are, who your people are. And trust is very important amongst our people. The healing component gets overlooked with this. Well, what I would like to do right now is I would like to give everyone, because I know this subject matter, we can really dive into it for hours. I would like to give you some contact information. You can contact me further, and we can pretty much dive into it. I want to give you an email address. You can go to cpsandassociates@gmail.com. That's the letters C as in cat, P as in perfect, S as in song guy, ANDASSOCIATES @gmail.com. And I will also give you a website. The website is, make sure you put in the www.cpssaveslives.com. That's CPSSAVESLIVES.com. Because this subject matter, I want to be clear. What we're dealing with here, as we get ready to come to a close, we can't be fragmented with this thing. We cannot be fragmented in thinking, let me go buy some guns, because all you're going to do is just add to this European economy, right? You have to be clear. Education, economics, who you are, your culture, your heritage, spiritually, how we eat, how we everything embodies safety and security, because it also exudes an energy. There are many situations